local business and society. In the middle is Marwan American Properties, and then Fadi, it's Kaizen Management. Kaizen Management as well. What I'd like is we're going to be discussing technology, obviously, with ArabNet, and particularly what it's done to the technology sector. We'll be bearing on three main points: is how it has changed both the development in terms of 3D modeling, customization, what it has done in terms of changing the sales end, VR sales, immersive experience. Who doesn't go online anymore? They do a walkthrough through their prospective apartment or office. Then we're going to look at IoT, smart buildings, and not just because it's smart and it's cool and the customer wants this. It's also very important for customer relationship, which the gentleman will be addressing as well, for so-called tenant management, but really it allows the consumer to be happier and the owner and developer ultimately, hopefully, to be happier as well. And then we're going to be looking at co-working. I have some very specific questions for Kaizen management as well. What I'd like to do is have each person, starting with Mohammed, then Marwan and Fadi, tell us about their brand and their company. Gentlemen?
So, Beirut Digital District, to give you an idea, who knows BDD? Just to see. Okay, so that's a good start.
Yeah.
So our vision is a 15 years vision, and it started 5 years ago. And the idea was to transform a war-torn area where no one has stepped foot inside for the last 35 years into a tech cluster attracting 10,000 dynamic creative talent over 15 years, working in the digital and creative industries. And the whole idea is we consider ourselves a startup, helping startup, and how is that by helping them focus on their core ideas and we take care of the rest. Today, in 5 years' time, we transform that area from a no man's land to a community of 1,500 community members, 10 buildings, 17,500 square meters, and it's only the start, the better is yet to come. Whoever didn't visit BDD, I invite them to do so, because the energy that emanates from the community that we have at BDD is really something that everyone is calling a bubble of hope, a bubble that everyone can be proud of. So you're mostly invited.
Marwan.
Yeah, so we started our real estate business in the US, New York.
That's the name, American Properties.
Exactly. Exactly. In New York, in a lot of ways, it's the biggest market in the world in real estate. In terms of our talk today, it's also the most advanced technologically because A, it's in the US, and B, the pool of talent there is equal to none, and they just spend a lot of money there. So our exposure there has shown us a lot of the things that work in technology, where technology is taking real estate very often to So what works there, but what doesn't necessarily work everywhere else. So we have that. Here we've developed a place, we mostly have that word of something called Antwerp, which is WeWork, and I think everybody here knows what WeWork is about, which is a community office space, which seems to be the trend in the future of work where this is going. And so we're developing here, we're also developing by the sea.
Could you briefly tell the audiences how much SoftBank has invested into WeWork?
$4 billion.
Right.
$4 billion. I mean, it's obviously an interesting story. I think SoftBank told them to raise their valuation so that they could put $4 billion. Because SoftBank has a vision that like a few selected companies are going to be worth hundreds of billions, and WeWork is the chosen one to be the leader in that space. And on the side we have businesses in Africa, which is more in the F&B space. So we represent brands like Domino's, Coulson, and now just launched Pinkberry. And so we just generally look at it also in the real estate side and the technological side there. And between New York, Lebanon, and Nigeria, you get really the spectrum of where real estate and technology is going.
Fadi is more Emirati-based, which is no small thing. There's a great deal of money in the Emirates, as we all know.
And a great deal of headache.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kaizen Asset Management was established about 12 years ago, mainly in Dubai. We serve the United Arab Emirates. We mainly do real estate, investment management, fund management. We manage buildings, towers, master communities, and basically we do the whole 360-degree cycle of an asset, starting from a land to designing it, to developing it, to later on managing the building and hopefully staying throughout the life cycle of the building all the way to its construction, destruction, and then rebuilding again. Where our focus right now, we recently realized that technology is going to take over even the most important parts of our business, and we have gone through a whole transformation of transforming everything related to building management into automation and to manage things technologically. Because we manage large assets in Dubai, master communities like Dubai Festival City, large-scale towers like Index Tower and the IFC Dubai International Financial Center, we realized the importance and the efficiencies that we obtain, that our funds benefit from utilizing technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fadi. Well, I have you on the spot. I want to launch with one of the first questions, talking points that we went over, and then we can go down the same question down the line, at least for our developers here. What is the effect of technology on building management and large-scale development?
Right, so take an example of a master community in Dubai called Living Legends now, where we're trying to actually pilot a project. We're trying to work with Dubai government on various aspects of that. What we're trying to do is to build or manage communities that have minimal human interaction. So let's say you go into a master community that has schools, towers, villas, supermarkets, malls, etc. And you have all of that being monitored by drones. So you have drones flying around, detecting things like cleanliness issues. So if an area is dirty along the streets, it would actually send a signal to a robot, to a cleaning robot, to go and actually clean that area, then send a signal back to the drone, inform the drone that it's been cleaned, and then the drone would come and check again. Drones would also help in maintaining the health and safety issues within the community. They can detect fire much faster than a human being. They can detect, because they have thermal sensors now, thank you. They can actually detect heat within a property way before it causes a fire. They can detect electrical issues and wirings, etc. And also on the security side and the concierge side, we're working with various companies to have towers and buildings run with zero human security and have them replaced with robots as well as concierge robots that be able to answer good questions related to the building, that will be able to report on issues and similarly clean the tower, maintain the tower from a maintenance point of view as well.
Concierge robots sound like a great idea to me as concierge humans or sometimes like.
They're already being used actually in like Hilton hotels worldwide has been playing around and having concierge robots instead of human beings, and the feedback from people is very, very positive.
Very interesting. Marlon, something you and I discussed on the phone earlier, starting at the sales and marketing end. Tell us a little bit, now you're global, you obviously are doing technology to fit your market, but sales technology, VR, immersive experience, and how this has changed. We also talked about listing services in New York, which are one-stop shopping, I believe, and why you might use that in New York and not here.
So leasing and sales, I think, is going to be massively transformed. Actually, Fadi probably, because he's dealing with this a bit more, maybe able to let jump in. But it's a few $100 billion a year gets paid every year in sales, marketing, brokerage. So it's everything when we touch real estate, we're touching massive numbers just in general. Just because of the scale of it. Real estate is a $270 trillion economy worldwide. It's where most people have their wealth. So anything that you touch there just is exponentially big. And so the traditional way of leasing today or selling is you call a broker, he shows you around, he shows you 10, 15, 20 spaces, he gets to figure out what you like, what you don't like, and eventually you find something and he negotiates for you. And that model of the middleman is changing. In the construction phase, before you even see anything, you'll be able to do a virtual tour or a augmented reality tour. That's happening more and more in New York, again, because of the number and the scale and sophistication of the market. You see it. I think in Dubai they're starting a little bit. Lebanon might be lagging a bit behind in that, but will probably come when the price point meets, when the price points go down. And then like the whole model of like paying the commission fee percentage based on success, that's also changing. And there's a new brokerage company called either Compass or Purple Brick, which is like just a flat fee.
Compass and what was the other one?
Purple Brick.
Right.
And so basically you pay a flat fee from the beginning.
Yeah.
And £3,000.
Pounds in the UK.
And basically they'll just do the whole marketing and they'll do just everything for you. And so the whole model is changing. And now, instead of like waiting for the broker to go see the space, you'll have a earpod and you'll walk around and you'll put the phone and you'll have a voice GPS locating you anywhere as you walk around, describing to you every room. You'll be able to just sit from your home and then just have the virtual reality. And that's stage one until maybe AI, like that's transforming everything, enters the market, and then AI will be able to create an algorithm.
Everyone here knows what AI means.
Yes. I think we're at ArabNet today. Until AI basically perfects the system of like knowing you perfectly well through your data and social network, and tells you exactly what you're looking for based on your price points and everything. And so all these things are moving and are going to completely transform the setup.
Now, in terms of market fit, this is something that you're probably using in your other markets, but tell the audience what might be obvious to them already as why in Lebanon some of this isn't quite here yet, or might not be here. The balkanization of how sales work.
I mean, Lebanon, it's a mystery how a lot of things work in Lebanon. There's, first of all, I don't know that there's a lot of sales lately in Lebanon, so you can start with that. Then two, I think the market is small, so therefore, the technology is cheap. Any technology is cheap once it becomes, mass, right? Once you can deploy it in a mass thing, building, for example. Buildings are going to have all this IoT and from the fridge to the concierge to the robots to all these things, but you need a network for that, right? You need Wi-Fi for that. We're struggling here to have reliable Wi-Fi, right? So there's an initial cost that you need in order to do things, and then you need scale so that the capital expenses that you're spending becomes close to none. And here, the problem is, you don't have to scale at this point today. And that's why I'm saying, what will ultimately happen is that prices are just going to keep going down exponentially, right? And at some point it becomes so cheap that
Plug and play.
you just plug and play. You just take models that work there and you don't bring it here. So I think a lot of the issue here is partly cultural, but mostly sales volume and ability to absorb.
Is one other thing is I think a very realistic view is cutting out the middleman would be a crime in Lebanon. So, got a few laughs on that one. Is Mohammed is now a shout out for Beirut Digital District. You're no slack in terms of technology and sales. You have a very cool flat screen tour of Beirut Digital District out in Hall. I was impressed. Talk to us about your sales paradigm and where technology fits into that.
Just going back on all everything that's happening, I believe. Now, Lebanon is following up with many trends, not to the US, nothing compared to the US, I believe, worldwide. But just to jump on Marwan said, the main thing is, yes, the market is small compared to the market in UAE. But there is lots of technological developments. In addition to the flat screen that we have a virtual reality tool that is of BDD, currently on our stand, that is developed by one of the companies that are at BDD. So you have lots of talent that can develop this technology. So where do we stand on the sales and technology now? Very important is, as Marwan said, more and more the middleman is being used in Lebanon or in other areas around the world. And this is what internet has been. If you move it and you have much more power to your user base and how to be able to satisfy your user need from the management services to the sales services, to understand their needs, to be able to take into consideration their data collection and what are their needs, and to build for them the right product if while technology is being used to serve better the customer. And that's what I believe we try to do. Today is from the property management and everything, we try to integrate IoTs, control, services, and they start with the WhatsApp group, where we have a faster response time to your consumers to be able to know what are their problems and try to deal with their problems in a faster, better, more efficient way. On the sales side is the database, the platform, the social platform, to be able to see who's the demand and how to cater for it. And most importantly, is providing them within BDD of a technology. For example, today we have fiber. We have fiber. We're glad to have fiber.
That's unusual.
BDD has fiber.
No, it's a great start. We have fiber. Fiber has been tested at speed of 800 megabits upload, download. Most of our tenants are being connected to the fiber. Their productivity just increased, and that's very, very important for the digital industry. That's one. On the second side, from the infrastructure, wherever you walk in BDD, what we're deploying is Wi-Fi, is Aruba network, where you go within your iPad and you have access to your files, to your servers, while walking from one building to the other, one corner to the other. Within this, we're developing our app, community app, to be able to increase the interaction between the community members, between mentors, between the startups, to be able to share their ideas and help them grow. And in addition, to have access to all the BDD facilities, whereas also to be able to pay, use the services, and have your wallet payment on your BDD app, so you feel you're part of a community. And I believe this is the main thing that is changing in real estate. The main thing is that you cannot be just a real estate project anymore. In every project that you need to have a certain community that you are targeting. And this is the shift that is happening. It is what is the community that I'm targeting, what are their needs, and how can I use, which technology can I use to better serve the needs of this community. Today at BDD, we did the community of digital creative talents. Another project that we're thinking of and which you're seeing evolving in Europe and the States is the elderly people. Elderly people more and more are located in compounds that are better serviced with healthcare, with gyms, with fitnesses, with diet to be able to better serve them. And how to shift this is, I believe, that transformation that's happening. That's what co-working is also happening, because internet and technology has helped people that think alike to get together to the same places. And these same places at the end is real estate. But the real estate spectrum is changing through the technological connection of people. So that's it. It's always putting the people at the center of your target, and how can I better serve him using the technological advances that are happening.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. That was very succinct. Is a quick stat to throw in. It's CB Properties, I believe, the statistical analyst has reported that in the last 4-year time period that there's been 5.5 billion property technology invested. So it is by no means a small sum, and it is growing as well. Fadi, something you brought up in your question series was about property management. I would like to ask that, property development management, but with a particular focus. The next topic on the board here today is IoT. Talk to us about property management vis-a-vis IoT. For the audience now, we all know the term. We think of smart home, that when we're coming back from the autostrad after a 2-hour commute, is that our home is ready, it's set for us in terms of temperature, maybe our favorite music is on, but IoT is much more sophisticated than just these kind of gimmicks. It's a technology that, in talking to any of the IoT people here today, is going to be growing and changing significantly. Talk to us about IoT and its more sophisticated end of customer relationship and property management.
I mean, you mentioned smart homes. I think what we're trying to focus on today is going into smart communities and smart, not just, as Mohammed Rabah said, today you have social media, or even from a developer like ZRE, they take an initiative to have the community talk to each other. And actually interact and develop a better community. From our side, on the property management side, on the topic of involvement of residents, we are now involving them in decisions that relate to the actual community. So historically, a building owner or a fund owner would make the decision on, for instance, revamping the entrance lobbies, or changing the swimming pool, or changing the gym equipment, whereby the residents in the building actually have a different requirement, and they would wish for, to cancel the gym and have a billiards table in, for instance. And that we're facilitating that communication now on a day-to-day basis. And when you really go down to things on a day-to-day basis, we're able to also, residents are able to communicate if, let's say, a lobby, the building lobby or the corridors are being too cold, where the temperature within the lobby is being too cold, so that means we're wasting energy, which means with that information we can control the assets, control the equipment to reduce the cooling within the building, which ultimately will generate savings onto the tenants in general and onto the owners. On Internet of Things, on the maintenance side, we have now all kinds of sensors that are linked to also to equipment, and they're very interesting with some sensors along with some business intelligence and algorithms would actually tell you the life cycle of the actual asset. So let's say you have a $1 million chiller, you would know how much of, when is it gonna basically run down, when is it gonna, when does it need replacement, and how much is it going to cost in maintenance. So you have a lot better predictive maintenance rather than reactive maintenance. And this way things also tend to run down less frequently. Basically.
This is fascinating, and certainly an education for me is IoT is much more than what we see now and on the surface. Marwan, the same question is how American Properties is using IoT, and also maybe a guide for the audience of where we're going to see IoT and your industry 5 years from now.
So where we're using it is obviously in the homes. I mean, Alexa to one degree is like your local concierge at home, like and she's going to be able to control your fridge, your temperature, your light, your TV, your everything. I think IoT also now is not just you as a developer building IoT. As companies come already IoT ready. Like I mean, the fridge comes with the sensor in it telling you you're running out of milk. Go
right.
refill or stuff like that. The microwave, your bed, your pillow, you slept well that night, you didn't sleep well at night. There's a delicate balance though between, how comfortable I am with having IoT all over the place and it becoming like, I can do a step without having like, my weight measured.
Do we have any privacy anymore?
Exactly,
yeah.
right? Like everything's being measured. So you sort of have to, there's lots of benefits, but then it becomes like overwhelming, right? And the overwhelming is where, the AI or the Alexa or Siri comes along and just kind of puts everything together and customize it for you. And I think that's what's happening. Everything's becoming IoT, and then something needs to merge it together and sort of customize it for you. So there's multiple things need to happen. Everything needs to be IoT, and then a central kind of unit needs to come and take it. But what's interesting also is like, rooms are going to have different meaning. Like, right, your bathroom is going to become your primary care, right?
Right.
So when you urine or whatever you do in the toilet, the sample is going to be analyzed, and they're going to be able to tell you, careful, you have such and such diseases coming through or stuff like that, or your breath in the mirror and all that stuff. So your bathroom now is your primary care. Imagine how much time, energy you save, right? And like, it's live. It's like giving you all this information all the time. So it's going towards that direction, right? And so I come back to everything is going to become IoT, and then everything's going to be centralized, and then the balance becomes the real trick.
An interesting point. I've been given the 4-minute count, so I want to move along quickly. This is not enough time, gentlemen. We could talk forever. Since we're on Mohammed, we'll go quickly down the line, but the next specialty and the next topic up is co-working.
Yep.
This is obvious. Please jump in.
Co-working, industry in the making. As you said, one of the biggest valuation of a real estate company currently is WeWork. Spread all over the world. It definitely is the new trend of which is the sharing economy. So co-working, WeWork for the offices. Currently, WeWork is launching WeLive. It's still also a concept of sharing how to live and for the millennials. The third is Airbnb. That eliminated the hotel business, the middleman,
the sharing economy.
And sharing economy. So on co-working, what is it in co-working? So for example, at BDD, we're a work, live, and play concept, and part of it under working is a big co-working space where you optimize the efficiencies of the companies to be next to each other. You have great designs, and you share the meeting room, training room, event exhibition spaces, in addition to phone booths. And you are in an area where you can communicate with other people, learn from them, share, network, do business together. And it's the new trend. Now, even this, what the new trends are showing, that do you have lots of co-working spaces with open spaces with open desks? Currently, the latest trends show that people do prefer to be in small offices because it's too loud, it's too noisy to be in like just open spaces and for the company. So it's still an industry in the making, and I believe in all the technological advances, it's industry in the making, and it's only time that we'll see how it shapes. But if you're not in this boat and you're not offering the flexibility to your tenants, if you're not offering them the flexibility to move to one space to the other, at their own growth sections, you'll not be able just a normal office without offering also the added values of the printings, the facility, the meeting room, the training rooms. So definitely this is what we do. The next step is the living component. The next step is the hotel component.
Co-living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the sharing economy.
Right.
And we have the living component that's coming at BDD. So we have like the furnished apartment for our tenants. We have the hotel component.
Right.
Hotel component currently, if you see the new hotels, most of the rooms are so small that you don't want to spend time inside the room. And whereas you have the main lobby, which is a huge lobby, where you have meeting rooms, training rooms, retail spaces, and just sharing ideas, the pub, the restaurants. And this is where everyone is invited to go and network. Now that touches on the privacy. And where does it stop, and what's the best model? It's still yet to come.
Thank you very much, and I'll move it along quickly. Just 1 minute each, gentlemen. Marwan, is your are jumping both feet in? Is Marwan's company is the owner of Antwork, one of our local co-working is certainly very popular and hip. Tell us about how you're looking at co-working and how it might disrupt and challenge what you're doing.
So Zena, that's sitting there, is actually the
the
real magic in Antwerp.
Yeah.
So I approached it more on the landlord side, basically.
Yeah.
But you know, I shared a vision with Zena, which is echoing what basically Muhammad is saying. This is the future. People want to be part of a community. They want to be in something greater than themselves. They want to have greater amenity. When you just have an office space in a building, isolated, you just have the space, you're in and out. But when you're part of like a community, you manage to have all these amenities and common areas and stuff like that. And that's where the world is changing. You share ideas. The cluster of ideas is where like all the brainstorms happen and like great things happen. And it's just the trend. WeWork is moving that way and is growing. The other one, and I think there's going to be a talk about it later today, is We Live. And I don't think, from what I've seen, there's We Live, The Collective, and a bunch of them. Just nobody seems to have really cracked the nut at the exact experience that somebody wants there. You need the We Live and WeWork model. You need just like a living model. What kind of amenities? How much do you need to like organize and be active in the process of like creating that community? I mean, that's still a model that's going to happen. It's working that way. It's gonna happen one way or another. Somebody's going to have it. And we're all here just to figure out which model is going to be the winner.
Quick question to either Zena or to Marwan. Is it like a gym? Can I check in for the day?
Yes, you can.
Is that a yes?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Zena, if I find myself in Hamra as a Sahafi and I need a workspace, I can check into Antwork like a gym.
Yes, it's a membership model. You can get a membership for a month, a week, a few days, or you can pay a day access and just use it for the day.
That sounds very useful to me as a potential consumer. Sahafis are always looking for a place to jack in a fast network. Fadi, what is Kaizen Assets doing in terms of looking at co-working?
We're not doing much on co-working.
All right.
We're more focused on
app development.
Is this something that's not part of your, if not, you certainly don't have to justify it. It's just not part of your core skill set.
It's not. I mean, Marwan mentioned, for instance, Alexa, Amazon Alexa, which is something you'd have in your house and use to control your house. We're working with Google Homes now on an app. We're in the final stages, actually, and it will be launched soon, whereby as a tenant in a property, you'll be able to speak to Google Homes and just request maintenance. You could actually pay your rent because it will be linked to your credit card. You'd be able to renew your lease agreement, for instance, and do a whole bunch of things. Basically, communicate with the building, communicate with the property management. So that's where our focus is right now, is on technology related to automating things and making things better for residents.
Absolutely. One thing is to approach the question differently, is co-working, do you see it as possibly being a competitor? You're a developer, you're building office space. Is this something you at least want to keep apprised of because they might be taking tenants away?
No, I think you'll always have people who would like to have their own independent space, and you'll always have people who are comfortable with co-working. So
not everyone wants to co-work.
Yeah. There's enough room for everybody, basically.
I think actually WeWork is the biggest landlord in New York now.
Yeah.
Or maybe second to Bank of America, maybe, but that's it, So.
And Nahara is very interested in co-working, except for our office. But we have a big open newsroom. Fatima, do we have time for a question? Yeah. Okay. Let's hear from the audience.
Just to go on that, because before, Regus was the first co-working concept. Regus, everyone knows Regus,
right?
Which is like internationally, and it passed through an uptime during the 80s to becoming like and then it went on a slump, and they almost went broke, and then they went back again, and now they're rethinking their spaces.
Right.
So that's why, just going back, we live co-working. Industries, real estate, technology. It is as similar to everything, all industries.
But bust and boom.
It's being disrupted.
Right.
But yet, all these are industries in the making. And where it will settle is the consumer who will decide what's the best for him. And that's what.
In terms of writing about it, we're very interested in the phenomena. Fatima? Yeah. Hi.
Hi. My name is Rashid Abu Hassan. I'm a design director at WeLive. We work based in England and the Netherlands. So my question to you, particularly, as I'm concerned mainly with the design side of this, from a WeLive standpoint, how much culture, particularly when it comes to this region, we were talking a little bit about that earlier, so I'm kind of cheating here. But we talked a little bit about that earlier. How much do you think culture comes into the mix here as to whether or not such models are accepted in the region?
So how much is this disruptive technology acceptable to MENA culture, Arab culture in particular, and into Lebanese?
We spoke a little bit earlier about it. First of all, I don't think the model perfectly exists even in the West. And I think what happens in the West, though, is when you graduate college, or when you graduate high school, you go to college, and you essentially leave home, and it seems to be like a one-way street, right? Like, you're out, and you're not coming back. And I think culturally in this region, if you come back to home after graduating college, it's either expected or not taboo, right? It's like, it's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
And so a concept like WeLive, where basically you're 24, 25, or 25 to 35, basically, and you don't have a family, and you just don't want to live alone in a studio, but you want to live in the center of the city, and you want the amenities, and you want everything to be at arm's reach. In the West, there's a model. It kind of makes sense. Here, you can live at home, not pay rent. Your laundry is made, you have food on the table and stuff like that, and you can go and party and do or work, whatever it is that you want to do. So I think the model here is a little bit more tricky, and I think, therefore, what's going to end up tilting the balance is maybe what kind of amenities or what can you offer that person that he couldn't get at home, right? And then, we spoke also about it briefly, do you have to make it segments, right? Like, this is only 25 to 35 single, party people and stuff like that. Or do you make it, customizable? I don't know. That's why it's it's in the making still. I think.
Co-living doesn't come with a tata who makes you home-cooked meals.
Exactly. Or maybe you put a Tata there. And there
the
you go.
Tata factors. There's no
Cooks for you.
Tata robot.
You have a home-cooked meal every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Any other questions? All right, that's it. I'm getting the TV cutoff signal. Thank you very much, audience, and most of all, panelists. It was a pleasure for me and an honor to moderate the panel.
Thanks,
all too
TK.
short, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Thanks. How did it go? Good. Patty?